Up last this evening, we have Scott Frain. Given by God, why the church needs to take better care of the environment. Let's put our hands together for Scott.
Joe's life was stranded on the waters of the Pacific Ocean. The propeller was all chewed up. The family fishing boat that Joe's father had bought wasn't working. Joe's family had been in the fishing business for years, working out of a little-known Pacific island. They managed to put together a living for as long as anyone in the family could remember. Now, all of that was at stake with catastrophic amounts of plastic in the water. It was difficult to go anywhere. This was not the giant Pacific garbage patch that environmentalists were raving about. That patch was much, much bigger and about 1,000 miles north. This was a smaller, but just as harmful. As Joe sat there trying to come up with solutions to his problems, all he could think about was why. Environmentalists could help the situation if they had support. In Joe's eyes, groups of trash-dumping, polluting people just wouldn't let it happen. Couldn't there be a group out there that could help? A group that was globally connected? The only globally connected group that Joe knew were the Christians, but those people wouldn't help. Why would they care about a man in a boat in the Pacific Ocean with the sun beating down and his life on the line? All they would care about was following the Bible, converting anyone they got into conversation with. Couldn't Christians stop worrying about how to get into heaven and look around and see how they could help on earth? Books and numbers did not add up. How was he, Tom, a sixth-generation farmer working on his family farm, keep his farm afloat from extremely cold winters, hot summers, droughts, times of over amounts of rain that just wouldn't stop, and frost dates that kept on moving back and forth? On top of all that, there were the regulations. How could some person in some desk, in some office, somewhere, who had probably never even met a farmer, tell him what to do with his land? Environmentalists, politicians, liberals, they were all the same, just trying to tell him what to do. In Tom's eyes, the only people that could tell him what to do were God and his wife. Going to the church and meeting people like-minded as him is the highlight of his week. It seemed to him that Christians had the correct stance on things. Leave the environment alone. The question always nagged him, how had he created the environment? He had put man on earth. Was it their job to help or let it be? Christians are a group of people that make up a large population of America today. We believe in an eternal God and the Bible. The Bible is the source of our beliefs. The Bible was written by divine inspiration and handed through generations, all the way to the Catholic Church, the Waldensian, and the Reformation. The Bible is what links Christians across the world together with common beliefs. It makes them a people group of importance. Having importance and being a worldwide people group gives Christians influence on environmental issues. The environment is the world we live in, the green, colorful outdoors, full of ecosystems and balance. That balance can be tipsy. One thing can send the environment into a spiral that can last generations. The environment is the air we breathe. It provides oxygen by cleaning the air of carbon dioxide, along with performing many other vital processes, providing us with nutrients, food, stable weather, and much more. In short, the environment is important. However, the environment is not the most important. God is. God created the environment and controls the entire universe, down to each individual plant that grows. He is all-powerful, and his word is law. As Christians, our main belief is our belief in God and carrying out what he has told us to do. With God speaking to us through the Bible, he directs our actions on almost all levels. Christians should take a more active role in the environment because God calls us to take care of the environment. Helping the environment helps other people. Without the environment, our life on earth would not exist. In Genesis, God created the earth, and he created man. This earth, in the beginning, was perfect. God had created it in 6 days and said it was very good. Adam and Eve were charged to work in the garden. This was not just for the sake of making the garden better or harvesting, but also to give Adam and Eve a purpose and a job in the land that was perfect. The thing to understand is that they were working in a perfect environment. After the environment was no longer perfect, how much more should they work in a non-perfect environment than a perfect one to still take care of God's purpose? This job they were given is called stewardship. Stewardship is taking care of something you were put in charge of to the best of your ability. This is not just watching over it and knowing that it is there. It is putting in the effort and trying to make whatever you are in charge of better. Stewardship is not just used for the environment. It's also used as a term for taking care of livestock. In both senses, it is important, something that we are called to do. It is the right thing to do, either because it is humane or God called us to do it, as it says in Genesis 2:15, Job 41:11, Deuteronomy 10:14. God called us to inherit and inhabit the earth. It is live a fulfilled life there. Some people think that this is the only purpose that God has given to us besides the gospel, when in fact God has called us to take care of the environment before He called us to inherit the earth, as it says in Psalms 37:11 and Matthew 5:5. Often people get obsessed with some ideas of what they might want to do with their life, or people try to figure out what God wants to do with their life. Although they may have good intentions, they often overlook the fact that God has called us in many callings in the Bible. We can look at the callings in the Bible and understand, instead of wanting a new one, we can be called and fulfill God's calling for us. There's a lot we as Christians can do to help the environment if we have our priorities straight. Our rule over the earth carries a lot of responsibility. When someone has given rule over something, there's a certain amount of expectation and accountability that comes with it. As Christians, we often have accountability partners in relationships in many aspects of our spiritual lives. The same is true for our responsibility for the environment. In that case, your accountability partner is God. Focus on the Family says in an article, a statement on the environment, God takes personally our offenses against mankind, and not taking care of the environment hurts mankind. He who governs superintends or takes care of whom he governs. This means to oversee. So, he who loves to govern rather than to do good is no bishop. Taken from St. Augustine. We can choose to do good over what we want. Helping the environment helps other people. There are many people around the world whose lives are being destroyed along with the environment. It is very important to analyze the detrimental effects on the environment, therefore humanity. There has been a lot of forests destroyed by either humanity trying to earn money or lack of attendance to the environment. Many native tribes around the world have lost their homes due to the destruction of natural forests. In America, there's a lot of work put into fertilizers for the ground, which once was very fertile. Yes, soil depth provides many good crops for many years, but it continues to deteriorate. With the lack of nutrients that could be put back in the soil with many simple processes, as the Greek philosopher Lucretius says, is the path of sin that has brought us to this point. Men's want for money and disregard for what they leave behind has left a lasting effect on the environment that will take a lot of work to reverse. Being engaged in helping the environment does not just have effects on the environment, it can also help you mentally, as you get involved in the nature and a good cause. Also, as people find pleasure in activity in the outdoors, there's a lot to be gained mentally if you know that you're helping a good cause. Depression is significantly decreased when you're doing something for other people and yourself. So, when you help the environment, you're helping other people and yourself by maintaining a good mental status. The U.S. as a whole has gotten a hopeless attitude when it comes to the environment, saying that there's no way we're going to get it back. However, when you start helping the environment, you gain some hope and your outlook turns brighter. If we as Christians help the environment, we will help put Christians in a better light in the eyes of people that think Christians are judgmental and don't have compassion on the environment or other people around them. As it says in Matthew 5:6, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Christians have a reputation, true or not, for hating people who are different than them. As it is, Christians have enough to go through and many barriers within sharing the gospel. to show that we truly care. Why make the environment one of them? Without the environment, our life on Earth would not exist. Think of a world without natural green. If our environment completely deteriorates, that's what the world would be like. Without the outdoors, life would have no entertainment for people who remotely like green walks in the forest. Christians need to combine with other associations to help the environment and make as big of an impact as possible. God's creation, original creation, would be put off, so off balance that we could not recognize it. Something that God created perfect in the beginning, completely changed by sin, would not have a good outlook on us as Christians trying to spread the gospel. Spreading the gospel is our main goal, but it's very hard to do when the environment is falling apart to your neglection. If the environment continues to deteriorate, as the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development shows, that many people will lose their jobs. The environment is a great source of jobs through the agriculture industry, processing, shipping industry, and market industry. If the environment decreases, work around the world in industries not necessarily related to the environment will slowly decrease. Eventually, everything is connected to the environment. So no, I know what you're saying. Sounds good to some of you. But is that not what the liberal, neo-pagan nature worshippers do? This nature is like an obsession, and the whole life revolves around it. Let us say that you're working long hours on a plastic net to help water pollution, and your friend Gilbert comes and tells you that he thinks that helping the environment will make people believe you think less of God and more of the environment. Sometimes it can get to a point of worship when you're obsessed over one thing. There's a lot to be said for balance, and sometimes the environment just doesn't fit in. However, you may not realize that you can still find God in nature. This shows that when you're in the open environment, you were looking for God instead of making a God out of the environment. Some might be content with that, but others could say that the world is going to be destroyed and made new, so why put in the effort? Because of sin, the earth is naturally bad. So, in the end, God is going to destroy and make the world and make it new. Why would we put all the effort into helping the environment? Some people argue that there's a lot of people out there that do things that are unnecessary, and Christians shouldn't be one of them. However, though the world is going to be destroyed, God created the world, and in the end, He will destroy it. But in the meantime, in Genesis 1:27, He has called us to be stewards, and that should not be overlooked. However, some might take the previous argument and add that the world's going to end, but people are not. We should focus on the immediate physical and spiritual needs of others instead of the environment. Some argue that with the homeless population consistently increasing, Christians focusing on the environment instead of these other major issues is neglecting our duty to humanity. There's a lot to be said for helping others before the environment. It would be much more beneficial. However, if you think that the homeless population and the jobless population, or jobs and more homes, will be open with a healthy environment, the opportunity for people to consistently help the environment will be much more beneficial than handouts. You may say that this is completely neglecting other people, but you may find it easy to do both at the same time. This could be done by giving people in need opportunities to help the environment and give them jobs and a new life in the process. Christians should take a more active role in helping the environment because God calls us to take care of the environment. Helping the environment helps other people. Without the environment, our life on earth would not exist. Tom finds ways to make his farm much more efficient using more sustainable style of farming, helping maintain a customer base through advertisement of sustainability. His sales are consistent and increasing. Tom finds that church members stand with him on this. Most people in church make the stance of supporting the environment. It becomes easier and easier to see the benefits of keeping with God's commands. Joe survives that fateful day with the help from a larger boat. Getting back to his island, he didn't know what he was going to do. He heard of a program set up by Christians around the world to help struggling businessmen like himself to start using better and more efficient practices, which, if it continues to spread, will slowly but surely decrease the dangers to many agriculture industries by ensuring a safer, more sustainable environment, showing why Christians should help the environment.